Mr. Edwards, and I now yield 5 minutes to our colleague from Virginia, Mr. Bob Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director, for being here again today. What are your thoughts on the CBO having an audit? Not one's been performed in the history of the CBO. Why not? You've obviously not been the director for 50 years, but why not? Has it never been done? Why hasn't it been done in your tenure? What value do you think it might bring, or what opposition might you have to it?
Okay. So
I'm sorry, I'll just interject with, as we continue to discuss, hey, we're not as close as we'd like to be in our projections. Last year was the worst year with $1 trillion being off. So in light of that and the trend to be off, so
that's right.
go ahead,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, no, very good. I'll be brief. That on the financial side of what we do, of course we're audited every year, and we do very well. Our data security and data management is inspected, generally by the agencies that provide us with data. On the auditing of our substantive work, which I realize is where you're going, a lot of our work is in substance of different modeling. So we'll have different modeling on the revenue side or different modeling on the pharma side. And so it's not like there's one model to be overseen. There's priority areas. And that's what the way I think of this is, I would want to get from you your priority areas, and then let's drill down and say, well, what do we get right, what do we get wrong, and why, and understand it.
Side note, from a cost standpoint, what would you guesstimate? What's the average salary of your 270 employees?
It varies. 2/3 of our employees have a master's or a PhD, and so their compensation would be, like a senior executive service, which would range, it's basically like 140 is the bottom of the senior executive service range.
Your costs are roughly $260,000 per employee. If you took your total budget and divided it by employee.
By the employee,
What are the other major contributing factors beyond the salaries piece?
It's technology is part of it. We're basically people and software and computers. We have some money for things like training, and most of the travel is associated with training, publications, things like that. Kind of more administrative or support. But it's basically we're mainly people, and then we're things associated with technology and data.
It's my understanding that when it comes to the cost of a proposed rule, we're assuming a 50% of the costs in the baseline. Is that correct?
The particulars matter, but that's a rough, the answer is.
What's the rationale for presuming half of it versus?
So what we do.
Like the student loan transfer scheme.
Yeah, no, exactly. The student loans.
The latest one being $132 billion, and we presumed then 66. So help me with why the rationale for that.
Yeah, no, it's exactly the right area to use. What's happened is the administration has put forward proposed rules, but they haven't finalized them yet. So when they put forward the proposed rule of something like that's a big change, we say, well, it's not final yet, so it's not in the budget, but we want to provide information, and that's where the 50% comes in. And then when it's finalized, it goes to 100. If the courts reverse it, which of course, as you know, has happened, repeatedly with student loans, then it goes to 0.
A lot of more executive actions more recently, this administration, previous administration, and one before that. But talk about just assessing the costs or including the costs of these executive actions, the approach to that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of them. When they're finalized, we put them in the baseline, in the budget. So student loans altogether since 2021 is over $500 billion. It's like $570 billion. That's in the baseline. We reflect it. There's other things. The thrifty food basket, what was done with that, together with very high food inflation, that's in the hundreds of billions. So it takes us time to analyze these things. As we analyze them, we inform the committee, we inform the Congress, and we put them into the budget baseline. And just one last thing is, sometimes a committee will come to us and say, we have legislation to reverse regulation, and then that generates a cost estimate. So it's not just in the baseline, but it's a cost estimate.
An adjustment depending on what that congressional action might
Would-
be
would-
relative to that rule.
Right, the savings from that action.
Mr. Chairman, my time's expired. I yield back. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
I thank the gentleman, and now